Welcome to the Select Board meeting for Tuesday, October 14th, 2025. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We'll be calling for a motion in a second, but we will go into executive session after this and return no sooner than 6:30 p.m. tonight. So, Mark?
Mr. Chair, I move we go into executive session to A, pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 38, 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. SEIU 888, Service Employees International Union, Harwich Management Employees Association, HEA, Harwich Employees Association, HMEA, Highways and Maintenance Employees Association, Harwich Permanent Firefighters Association, Massachusetts Coalition of Police, Patrol, and Superior Officers. B, pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 38, 21A7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements, the open meeting law, Mass General Laws, Chapter 38, 22FG, to review, approve, and/or discuss the possible release of executive session meeting minutes dated June 26, 2023, and December 30th, 2024.
Any second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to go into executive session for the purposes Mark delineated. All in favor? Pete?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. We'll return no sooner than 6:30 p.m. I call the Select Board meeting for October 14, 2025, back into order. We were previously in an executive session where we discussed negotiating strategies with the unions. As part of it, the second part of it, we have voted to release certain portions of minutes that related to a Freedom of Information request. And before we go to the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to note the passing of one of Harwich's great people, Dick Gomes. It's hard to encapsulate everything he's done. Everything from the Harwich CDC, which he helped found early in the 80s, and right up to the food pantry. The guy had his biggest heart that I know of. On a personal level, I've been a member of HESH at various capacities through the years, and without Dick's assistance, the Quaker Lane South Harwich HESH project never would have gotten built. The man had an immense heart, and we're all going to truly miss him. Jeff, would you like to say some things?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Another week where Harwich loses another hero. This one, Dick was such an incredible, wonderful human being. I just remember my grandfather and my father bringing me down to see him, and every time I would leave a conversation with him up until several months ago, you walk away feeling as if you're the smartest, the funniest, and the best person in the whole world. That's just what he gave to everybody that he came across, and he did it all the time. So they all hurt. This one is, he was a giant among men and people. Thank you.
Okay. Anita, would you like to say something?
Yes. I've known Dick and Shirley for a very, very long time. And in losing that layer of people in this community, I believe that also he did serve on the school committee.
And the planning board.
And the planning board. So, I mean, we've lost a true gentle man for this town of Harwich. He leaves behind quite a legacy. My heart goes out to Shirley and her daughter Charlene right now, and their entire family, extended family, the Gomes family, the Galvin family. And it's truly a heartfelt sadness, I believe, for this town.
Pete, do you have anything you want to say?
No, I just knew of the man, nothing that I can share that would do any justice, so thank you.
Mark?
I didn't know the man, but my wife knew the man. He did great work, so that's all I can say.
So I'll sum it up that the entire board offers its deepest condolences to Shirley and the rest of the Gomes family over this immense loss. And I'd like you to all join with me in a moment of silence on his behalf. Thank you. And now if you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Staff comments and announcements. Well, I'll start with the first announcement so that people aren't hanging by their TV sets next week. I know, we're not been canceled, we're just on a hiatus. We will not have a board meeting next Monday. The next meeting will be October 27th on Monday. So any other staff comments from? Hello there. Kara, how are you?
Good evening, Kara Mooney, Director of Cultural Affairs. I'm happy to finally get out of the building while we even have something to make it here. Just happened to be on a Tuesday instead of a Monday. Exciting. Just wanted to give you an update. We had a great start to the fall. We were able to host the Master Gardeners Fall Summit, where we welcomed 175 Master Gardeners from all over the Cape and beyond. And we had about 4 breakout rooms. They spent pretty much majority of the morning doing various topics about bees, topics about tools and how to use appropriate tools in your garden. They had a conversation about soil. They actually did soil testing on site for people that brought it. It was a great event, and I'm so excited that we got to work with them. We also hosted on the same day open studios, so it was really exciting because we were able to have all new people that we hadn't once seen before come into Artist Studios on top of other folks that were coming in too. We also just had over this past weekend our opening for Ghost Story, so it was a couple of great days. So Sunday's performance, the matinee, was postponed due to the weather, unfortunately. However, we did have Thursday, Friday, and Saturday performances, and they were wonderful. So we do offer this performance Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays through October 25th, so we welcome people to come. Tickets are still on sale. If they don't get them online, they can still get them at the door. Shows on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are at 7 p.m., and the show on Sunday is 5 p.m. Tickets are only $24. It's a great performance. It also gets you in the spooky Halloween season, so it's a good time. And then we have this week, we're hosting ZBA for tonight and tomorrow, but we are hosting the housing fair on Thursday from 5:30 to 7:30. So anyone who's looking to connect with housing resources can come by. They can see Brianna, our housing advocate, but they can also see a variety of vendors. I've heard that there's 18 total participants in the housing fair, so it should be pretty exciting and full of information for anyone looking for that. And then in October, on the 25th, we are hosting a Provincetown print workshop, which will be conducted by Bernadette Waystack in Studio 205. Then in November, we have our next open studio event for Studio Saturday on November 1st from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., followed by Holiday Market and Open House on December 6th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. This is our largest event of the year, so we have a lot of special treats in store that we'll be announcing here shortly. But the biggest and most important thing is we do have 8 vendor spaces available, so we do bring in 50 vendors from the outside on top of our artist studios, and we only have 8 spots still available. And then lastly, our next theater production, which will start undergoing rehearsals very shortly, is Christmas Carol by Candlelight, and that is expected to kick off the weekend of Thanksgiving, and we'll be excited to share those details as they come with a special presentation, I hope. So that is Cultural Affairs Update. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Carolyn, do you have anything? Okay. Just sit back and relax. Okay, any more staff comments? Let's see, none? We'll move forward to the weekly briefing.
So updates on sewer work, 1 east and 2 west over in East Harwich. Again, they're continuing work on Route 39, Pleasant Bay Road, east and west, and Lydia Bangs. I just want to mention there may be a potential for some detours at the end of next week. There's a portion of Bay Road near Standish Woods entrance that is about 25 feet deep. It's right at the top of a hill, so that's the deepest part on Pleasant Bay Road. So as they open that up, if they can't get it open and closed, there could be some detours. So we need to talk to the police and fire department about that once I get their plan to make sure public safety considerations are taken into account. So just, again, if you're traveling Pleasant Bay Road, just always, follow the detour signs and any details that may be out there as it relates to that. Under Great Sand Lake Sewer Extension, probably right about now, the chair of the Wastewater Commission, Noreen Donahue, is over in Chatham representing the town since I was here. They have on their select board agenda the request from this board to include Great Sand Lake Sewer Extension into the IMA, as well as looking to approve the town's updated sewer regulations and grinder pump regulations that the wastewater side of the house put forward. So once that happens, although the sewer regs aren't necessarily related to Great Sand Lakes, but once those get approved by Chatham, the wastewater commissioners will need to hold a public hearing, allow for advertising times, and we're hoping before Thanksgiving that we'll get those approved. The board may be aware we have several folks out there that bought private grinder pumps that are waiting on reimbursements from the town. Much of that has been hinged on getting the sewer regulations, because when they sign their license agreement, they have to agree to comply with the updated sewer regulations. So it's kind of a cart before the horse kind of thing as it relates to that. Lastly, on Great Sand Lakes, where the bonds are going out for bid this week that pay for the $3.5 million, the non-state revolving fund portion of the Great Sand Lakes. We got through our S&P call, we got our bond rating, and so they'll go out to bid this week to secure the fund. So we're anxious. I think we're should be sitting well in terms of what we expect to see for potential interest rates due to both of those activities. Lastly, a Brooks Academy update. I think I mentioned we were working with the architect firm that was selected in terms of scope and price. I think we finally have gotten to end on that, and so we'll be looking to bring that contract back before the board to sign, hopefully on the 27th, so that we can get to work on that project moving forward. And that's all I have for weekly briefing items.
Can we speak to Standard & Poor's at all yet, or?
If you'd like to, sure.
I would like you to.
Oh, you want me to?
Yes, I
Oh,
do.
Which is no.
Which is fine.
This is good news, folks.
Yeah, I know, we talk about the projects and the costs, and obviously thankful for town meeting for approving borrowing authorizations for things. And in this particular borrowing, is not just the Great Sand Lake, the $2.5 million, but we have an ambulance for the fire department, a pumper for the fire department, the irrigation project at the golf course, all adding up to a little over $10 million in debt excluded borrowing. In order to get to success on that, you have to go before the Standard & Poor's rating agency on what we call a rating call. And so we spend a lot of time with myself, the finance department, our financial advisors at Hilltop Securities. We get questions sent to us that they're looking to have us answered. I usually call it a root canal times 10 in terms of the level of depth and information that we have to put together. It's pretty immense. So compliments to our finance team and our advisors for helping us to pull all that stuff together. And then you go on the conference call where they ask you more stuff. Bottom line is the town got its AAA bond rating affirmed, which is great news. We'll be putting that report up online so folks can read that. But that's what helps us secure the best possible interest rates for the taxpayers when we go out to borrow a significant amount of funds. So definitely kudos to the town, and it's all about having a strong institutional framework on how we conduct ourselves financially, and I think that was a strong point that we made sure we got across with S&P last week. So.
But it's good news.
It's excellent.
I like sharing good news, because there's a lot of good news out there.
Yeah, there is.
All right. Any questions for the town administrator? All right, public comments? Hi, Meredith.
Good evening. I'm Meredith Henderson, the chair of the Monomoy Regional School Committee, and I just wanted to come and publicly announce, I'm not sure how widely known it is that Scott Carpenter is retiring at the end of this school year, but we have begun our superintendent search process. Part of the process is to put together a search committee that we have already started to look for. We have sent out an application to the faculty, staff, parents, and students. And then for community members, we wanted to offer different ways to share their insights and thoughts around this. So 2 ways are through the survey that is on our Monomoy website. It's underneath the school committee page as well as under news and announcements. You can find all of the information, including the timeline of our whole search process. And then there's also going to be community forums this Thursday. We're going to have a forum for the students at the high school. We would really like to hear their voice in this process during their JOSM hour. So that's between 12:05 and 1:05 during the school day. We have a staff forum between 3:30 and 5 o'clock at the Monomoy Regional High School Library. And then for parents, caregivers, and any community members, we will have another forum from 5:30 to 7 o'clock at the Monomoy Regional Middle School Auditorium. And then from there, the process continues. The search committee will do the initial interviews and then push, hopefully, finalists forward for the school committee to interview.
Great.
Let me know if they have any relatives who want to do a town administrator gig.
I'll let you know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Meredith. Any other public comments? I'm asking for the indulgence of the board here, since we have legal counsel as president. Anybody have any objections for taking that out of order, so that she doesn't have to listen to our presentation about Christmas trees, such?
Not at all.
Okay. Michelle, come on up.
Good evening, folks. For everyone at home, Michelle Randazzo, KP Law, Town Counsel's Office. I'm here tonight to talk to you about a new open meeting law complaint from Michael McCaskill. Just to give you a little background on how I've approached a response to this complaint, a little different than the one I was here a couple of weeks ago to talk to you about. This complaint raises 3 main allegations of violations of the open meeting law. One has to do with the verbiage of agenda items for certain executive sessions. The second has to do with an allegation that topics were improperly discussed in executive session. And the third has to do with implied or suggested serial communications amongst the board members. As the board knows, right, under the open meeting law, you can't have deliberations outside of an open meeting, which means a communication that reaches a quorum. And sometimes that can occur if there's sort of what we used to call playing telephone, right? One person talks to another person, talks to another person, now all of a sudden we've got 3 people involved in the communication. And because most, although not all, but the primary allegations of the complaint revolved around the discussions that the board had in the summer with respect to filling the successor to the former town, filling the town administrator position after the former town administrator left. So I thought it was very important to provide some context for those discussions, right? Because, you know, when I looked at them, I could see how some people might look at this and say, oh, well, maybe there's a violation here because when taken out of context, you know, you're missing all the pieces of the puzzle.
Getting a message from TV land that you should pull,
I'm not loud enough.
that you pull the mic towards you more.
Absolutely. I'm usually accused of being way too loud, so my apologies. And so I thought that it was important in the draft response that you have to consider before you tonight to really provide that context, because In particular, there's allegations, this complaint that suggests that some of the decisions that the board made along the way with respect to appointing an interim acting town administrator and an interim town administrator seemingly came out of the blue. And so I spent a fair amount of time watching board meetings during the summer to try to provide that context. And I tried to adhere as closely as possible, without any sort of editorializing, as to what folks said. I looked at minutes, and I reviewed all of the background. And so you'll see that the draft response that I prepared contains a summary of the events that, precede and then occurred in the middle and sort of at the end of that whole process that led you to the point where you have your interim town administrator now. Because, as I said, I felt that without context, you're really looking at bits and pieces of the chain or the puzzle, okay? And so it took a fair amount of time, obviously, to really put that all together because, as I said, you could take one thing out of context and look at it and say, oh, this could be a problem. So when I was here before, a couple weeks ago, we talked about some of the issues that the board meeting agendas had with conflating a couple of the executive session purposes, 2 and 3. We've already fixed that moving forward, but that allegation was brought up again, and again, we're fixing it moving forward. With respect to the allegations of improper discussion of topics in executive session, whether it was or it wasn't, you've released the executive session minutes for that meeting, and that is an effective cure for any open meeting law violation if it did occur. And then with respect to the allegations of serial communications, I tried to explain sort of, again, the context, and really there's just a lot of speculation, quite frankly, and the Attorney General generally doesn't take speculation. It relies upon the board's version of events in the absence of evidence to the contrary. So in the draft response, I've addressed all of those issues. Because of time constraints, because I knew you weren't meeting next week, I did not have the opportunity to include all the web links to all the meeting videos or compile meeting minutes that I had intended to attach to the response. So in this instance, I'm asking you for a slightly different motion, which would be to authorize me to finalize this response and send it on the board's behalf, just so I have that opportunity between now and next week to insert the hyperlinks to the YouTube videos of the board meetings. And you'll see some citation to those in there, but we like to make it easy for the Division of Open Government. We like to give them the links where they can, and time stamps and things like that, so that they can go forward and watch the relevant portions of the meetings. I don't know if the board has any questions about the draft response or wants to.
Just going to ask them.
Okay.
Questions?
No, nothing's jumping out at me.
What is the process once this is sent, your response is sent into the Attorney General?
Thank you
What happens
thank you for asking that, because I did want to give you an update on the other open meeting law complaint that I was here before you. So the process is the individual has to file a complaint first with the board that is alleged to have violated the open meeting law, the board or the individuals. You have to consider it. A written response has to be sent to that individual. Thereafter, that individual has, I think it's 90 days, to move that complaint to the Attorney General's office if they want to. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. With respect to the open meeting law complaint from Mr. Beatty, he has in fact moved that to the Attorney General's office. And we can, your guess is as good as mine, quite frankly, about when we might get a response to that. But that's in the pipeline. I just got an email to that effect fairly recently, within the past end of last week or so. So once your response to this complaint goes out to the complainant, as I explained to you a couple weeks ago, we direct these to the Division of Open Government. They have a copy of all of this information so that if in fact the complainant chooses to move it to them for further investigation. They have all those materials on hand. And they would reach out to us if they have any further questions or they want further information. Sometimes they might ask to interview individual board members. It isn't the norm, but they can do that. They can do that.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just one more question. By the way, very well-crafted response.
Thank you.
Very good writing. If it's possible, could you segregate the amount of time that you have devoted to this open meeting law complaint and the other open meeting law requests? Could you segregate the time you've spent on that?
So-
And if possible, tell us what the hour billing rate, and the reason I'm asking for that is I think the taxpayers should know what these complaints cost us in terms of expenses.
So I can't,
And the FOIAs?
And the FOIAs, anything related to what
So-
we're dealing with from,
I can't do it off the top of my head. We
And I'm
do
not asking-
segregate
it's
it in the
something-
bills.
it's
So,
some
for
point procedure.
example, we have an open meeting law matter number open on your bills that is dedicated to any open meeting law questions, but also responses to open meeting law complaints, and we will have a tag with the complainant's name. So we can run that fairly easily. This one was pretty extensive because, as I said, I watched 2 months, if not more. And y'all meet every week, which is not, typical, quite frankly. And I had to, I looked at newspaper articles as well, because I had to figure out when things occurred. I looked through agendas, so it did take me a fair amount of time to put that together. So this one, I would certainly say it costs more than the average run-of-the-mill open meeting law complaint response. To my knowledge, we don't have a public records matter open for you folks individually. So when I talk about matters being opened, your bills are comprised of general legal, general labor, and then pieces of litigation, real estate contracts, et cetera. And we divide that up so that we can, with a push of a button, run reports that show over periods of time how much was devoted to this or to that. Some towns don't want separate matters for open meeting law or for public records requests. I don't think we have one that's separately segregated for public records requests. We can certainly open that if you would like, but we typically tag the requester's name in, at least I do in my time entries, so that we could run a keyword search through our billing folks could do that to provide that information. So happy to do that. If you would like us, I can talk to the billing folks tomorrow.
I think that...
She's asking if you
Yes,
want her
I,
to.
Yeah.
if the chair's okay, I think that would be very helpful,
Oh, you don't need my okay to ask.
just in case. Go ahead, you're okay.
You have mine.
Jeez. Further comments or questions or a motion to approve the response pending the inclusion of the hyperlinks and other information as described earlier?
And to authorize me to send it on your behalf.
Authorizer.
Second.
Got that, Jen? Okay. So, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
All right, thank you, folks. I appreciate you taking me out of order. I'm going to go,
Float home.
that ride down was not as, it was worse down here than it was a little
We-
further.
We have our own private weather here.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you for being
too.
here.
Thank you.
All right, back to the order we were in. The consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the resignation of Jacqueline Pence Green on the Harwich Energy and Climate Action Committee effective immediately.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the resignation with our gratitude for their service. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, before the vote,
Well,
sorry.
got to get that hand up.
I just want a brief comment that somewhat disheartened and concerned with the explanation or the reasoning for said resignation. So I'm hoping that the individuals involved can take this letter and perhaps
Constructive criticism.
correct and use it as an opportunity to learn and grow and potentially make some changes if those changes are in fact needed. So thank you for that.
Okay. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's a vote.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the Select Board meeting minutes from September 29, 2025, and October 6, 2025.
Second?
It's moved and seconded to approve the two sets of minutes. Any further comments on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, the update on the town meeting and budget timeline.
So just briefly, you'll start to see things turning green and things turning yellow, which means that they're in work. So we have a number of things in work right now, including developing the 5-year capital outlay plan in preparations of starting our meetings with the capital outlay committee. I'm just finishing up developing the FY27 budget instructions for the department heads based on the intent from the board's general policy guidance released on September 29th. I have a meeting with the department heads on Monday, the 20th, so next Monday, where we'll go over those budget instructions, answer any questions related to that, so that we can continue to move towards the rest of the timeline and the creation of that particular budget. We will also begin developing our draft sources and uses, which include our revenue estimates for the upcoming fiscal year, a very important part of that document. Hoping to have a draft before the end of October and finalized in early November, at least for our initial hack at that. And then we're still hopeful that we'll get our free cash certified by the end of October. We did have some communications with DOR recently. Because we don't have a fall town meeting or in the tax recap process right now, we're kind of in the third tier in terms of how they prioritize that. So, you know, getting in early was good, but we're in a queue with others that I think DOR feels have a more pressing need to get their free cash certified. In other words, if they're going to a fall town meeting and looking to spend free cash. So we're still hopeful. If we get any information, I'll bring that back to the board. But things are progressing along on the timeline at this point.
Questions or comments?
Going forward, we know that we tell them we're going to have a special town meeting, and then we go back on that meeting after the fact.
Well, there's that. I'm going to riff on something that you said earlier, Pete, to me. There's a desire, I mean, I think this is a pass-through to Eric on our part to also get a projection out there for capital stuff too, like a 5-year look ahead to see what that might look like in terms of our capacity to do it.
You're talking about through the capital plan, you mean?
Kind of, but it's more of a numeric analysis than it is project-based.
Okay, can you be, I'm not sure I follow. You're talking about in terms of funding sources for future capital?
No, what I was referring to earlier is, and it may be more than 5 years, what, you know, in our message, the budget message or the budget statement, we talked about an aging, aging infrastructure, right? And as well as deteriorating roadways. So what I would like to see is if we can, and the buildings may already exist, right? As far as current conditions of the buildings and future needs, and what those future needs. I'm not even worried about what the projected cost is right now, but what is this building going to need a new roof in 7 years, 8 years, 10 years? Those are the types of things I want to see us starting to forecast. They're fluid, but at the same time, we at least put it on the horizon. It's similar in roadways, and I'm going off subject here, but on the roadways, it's kind of a totally different thing where we've already, some consultants have already identified some roadways that are graded poorly. But it may require a more comprehensive review of all the roadways, and then we need to create a priority list of not only which roads need to be corrected first, but what is the correction? And again, in the near future, meaning in those first 5 or 10 years, what's the projected cost? Going out beyond that, those numbers aren't going to be realistic anyway, but what are we looking at to improve some of these things, knowing that we're starting to fall behind? We didn't only fall behind on salary and wages, we're falling behind on maintenance and upkeep, so.
Yeah, so I think in both of those areas, and I've worked on both, so on the road side, since that's where you ended, so, and I think I mentioned it when I talked to the board, when I first came before you back in the summertime, was and I've talked to Link about this a little bit and see what he already has built, but essentially developing a pavement management index, which again, looks at every road, does a condition assessment, a prioritization, how do we extend the useful life of some, right? Some roads need full depth reconstruction, other ones require mill and overlay, other ones you can do chip seal as a way to extend their useful life. We typically had a consultant help us with that, because that's a big project, and we can certainly look and put funding to that, because it is very useful, and people can track along and see why we're prioritizing certain roads the way we are based on their condition. On the facility side, again, we did a facilities management condition plan that looked at every building, went through the entire envelope, including mechanicals, to identify their, condition, excellent, good, poor, whatever, fair. And again, a prioritized list of what you should look at first on each of those buildings with some cost estimates. Again, we used a consultant to do that, because that plan is a major document. I just don't think organically we have the staff to be able to do that, but it's hugely important. It's, when you think about the amount of value that are in our buildings and all of that, it's probably our biggest asset, right, in terms of money. And how do we make sure we get the full useful life out of those facilities? It comes into having a good maintenance plan and a phased approach on which ones you would attack when, and what's the cost, and how do you pay, how do you pay for it? So certainly we can start to put some of the pieces together in terms of funding to perhaps get some help in putting both of those plans together, because you absolutely need one in today's environment on both.
Right, agreed. And I think spot on as far as, it's starting to look at the costs associated with bringing on a consultant or a vendor to help us with that process.
Right.
So what does that cost look like? And, almost, how much bang for the buck would you get out of an initial assessment, and then does it have to go deeper and further as time goes on? But,
Right.
yeah, I think that's the path I'd like to see us start to head down.
Okay.
Realizing there's plenty more on your plate. I'm not saying make this a top priority, but I think we want it on the radar. So, again, if that's part of our budget statement to the town administrator and the department heads, then, it's incumbent upon us to stay true to it and ask that we start heading down that path. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And to that point, so we all understand what's going on. I've talked to Tony about the roads specifically, and it's not just about condition of them and what the depth is and what they can seal them with, pave over. The last VHB report we got essentially just said, yep, you got a problem. And that's where it ended. So we're going to have an agenda item on in the future that we can do a dive into. Okay, it's great, we have a problem. What kind of problem, where, what needs to be done, and who needs to be doing it? Because I know that Sean could probably work with the buildings. There's an awful lot of assets that have 20 to 40 years on them already. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're all spent out. The roadways, on the other hand, if we didn't build anything moving forward, we got a problem already.
Right.
I mean, and you can see it on a lot of the roadways, like Queen Anne Road heading towards Route 6 is horrible. I mean, it hasn't gotten any better. I went there about a week ago, just in the afternoon, and the westbound traffic at Queen Anne at the traffic light already was past the first house, well past the Marceline property. So we got a problem. So that's going to be on an agenda item to see just how much we want to, delve into it. Any other questions? Okay. I do have the one question, though. Brooks Academy, are we where we were, or are we getting to the point where there's a work statement that we can work off of the contract with?
Yeah, well, I mean, the architect and designer gave us a full scope of work and everything. We needed to make some adjustment to it for cost reasons, which I met with them, I actually met with Sean Libby today, so we're there. That information is being sent so we can develop the engineering contract to bring before the board to sign. Once the board signs it, they can get to work.
I'm looking for a mild winter because one way or the other, I understand the country's going to have a 250th birthday with or without us. Okay, moving on then. New business.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve a hawkers and peddlers license for Pilgrim Lodge AF and AM, 706 Main Street, to sell Christmas trees at 9 Sisson Road.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the hawkers and peddlers license, the Christmas tree sale. They have done this in the past, by the way. So any further comments?
Somebody from the...
Oh, hello. Hi there.
My name is Bob Heppy. I'm the secretary of Pilgrim Lodge.
Have a seat.
Thank you. This, I believe, is our 8th year of selling Christmas trees, and we're going to sell them again on the 2 weekends after Thanksgiving. So, any questions?
Where are you going to put the cars lined up?
Well, they're not running the go-karts right now, so, and they're not running the,
Just kidding. We've seen it for the last 7 times, so it's just
we usually have
fine.
1 or 2 cars.
Okay. Any questions? Okay.
It's great to see you out there doing it.
Thank you, yeah. We have a lot of fun.
Same comment I made for the road pavement. I wish you a warm and temperate winter when you're out there selling it.
We're getting older.
Just me. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Bob.
All right, next we have a discussion about the 2026 Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission seasonal population form.
Mr. Chair, I move that we vote to approve the 2026 Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission seasonal population form as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I will make the note at a historic perspective, so going back to 2001, it is truly amazing to me that we can have a registered voting population that's been increasing by 1,000 here and 1,000 there, but the seasonal population is still the same. I'm not sure that I buy that, but it is important to be able to come up with a number. So it's been moved and seconded, that and the number is 36,000 for those people who were listening.
You want to make it 36,000?
36,000 exactly.
36,331.
You would turn them away when they hit 36,000?
We do, yeah. Like I said, I think there was a point where we actually did 40,000. I'm not sure how that went over with the state, but it has ramifications for the temporary population.
I'm sure the folks in the Commonwealth scrutinize this document.
As long as they get the fee for this, I'm pretty sure they're okay. All right, so any further comments? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous.
Mr. Chair, I move we vote to approve the 2026 dog and kennel license fees.
Second.
And we don't even want to talk to Emily about it.
Yeah, I was part of this.
Right.
That was the inferential joke. That's pretty much the job of the office, is just right in here. Well, all we do is issue dog licenses.
That's all I do. That's just dog licenses.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve the recommendation for the dog license fees. Any further comments?
Mr. Chair. I just want to state, since, that the recommendation before us tonight is to adjust the personal kennel, which is a multi-pet household with 4 to 7 dogs, from $25 a household to $50 a household, and commercial kennels, which includes boarding, grooming, daycare facility, and housing and household dog breeders, from $50 a facility household to $100 facility household. So just wanted that for the public's edification.
Okay, any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Finally got into it. Judy is involved. Almost. Discussion of ambulance fees. Chief, you want to come on up and have that conversation with us?
Good evening.
Evening.
How are you?
Great, how are you?
Good. You're on. We got beautiful slides ready for you.
All right. So the town administrator asked me to look into, actually, it raised the issue, something we had looked into, and I believe the last time we had raised ambulance fees was about 2013. It's been over 10 years. It hasn't happened since I was promoted to deputy. And it's always a little bit of a third rail. I know we talk about it because we're charging for the ambulance, which is provided by tax dollars, and it's a little bit of a third rail, but it's also a mechanism that's in place. And I think what we found over time, if you look at the presentation before us, that our fees have fallen down so far. One of the things we've noticed is the CPE, that cost recovery that we get through Mass Health, has fallen off a little bit. And part of that, we think, is because our billing rates are so close to the Medicare rates that we're actually, there's not much extra cost recovery there. So looking at it from that, plus looking at what our surrounding communities do, and then talking with the billing company, Comstar, and seeing what the average of their top 50 producers. So if you go to the second slide, this whole chart just does a different rate. So there's a basic life support rate, an advanced life support rate, and an advanced life support 2. But you can see, like in the basic life support, we're way down near the bottom of the surrounding communities. And then from the Comstar average, we're almost $750 difference. If you go to the next slide, which is the advanced life support rate, again, we're about $700 light from the Comstar. Oh, excuse me, I'm looking at the wrong column. We're over $1,000, or just under $1,000 from the Comstar rate. And then the third one, we're about $600 less. And those are rough, and then our mileage rate is also off. So looking at those and going with Comstar with that average of their high 50, they looked back at what we would have done last year, and they estimated that it would be, on the individual rates, if we add them all together, it's about 147, go to the next slide here. It's about $137 that we would have made, or revenue that we would have had.
I'm pretty sure it's more than $137.
Yeah, $137,000 over what we had last year. So looking at that, some of the data that I pulled out of this, the fire department budget in that same 10-year period, if you go from when I made deputy in 2015 to now, has gone up about 40%, but yet we haven't increased ambulance fees in that same amount of time. So I think it just makes sense. It's something that we look at doing. I think that the Comstar rate's a reasonable place for us to start. It's not the high bar of what we could ask, but it's a high average of their customers. It hasn't affected their collection rates. They're still averaging 95% collection rate for their customers, which is what they're doing for us. We're between 90 and 95, depending on when we look at it. So that was kind of what we thought forward. My recommendation would be, if you go to the last slide, which is just adopting their rates across the board, and then increasing our mileage, which they did not have a recommendation for, from $29 to $35, which is not the high of our neighbors, but it's close. Any questions on that?
I think that before we go to the questions,
Yep.
because this is a constant confusion on part of the public, at the current time, we developed the system of billing insurance companies a number of years ago, probably the early 2000s, as I recall, or late 1990s,
Yeah.
somewhere in that area. Just so the public knows, those fees don't go straight to the fire department. They currently go into the general receipts.
Correct.
And we have had initial discussions about perhaps associating them with solving some of our contractual problems, and take that increment and devote it to something. But just so people don't think that we've got the richest fire department on the Cape, those fees don't go directly to you. We fund you through our budget process, and that's where the money comes from.
And if you look at our neighboring towns, they all handle a little bit differently. Brewster, they pay for their ambulances out of it. It's a fund. They pay their lease payments out of it. Yarmouth actually hired staff with it, but all those all come back to the fire department. When it was decided, Chief Peterson was chief when we first did ambulance billing, so it would have had to be before 2005. I want to say it was late 90s.
It's either late 90s or early
Yeah,
2000s.
but he was chief, and the town decided at that point to put it just into the general fund, so that's what it's done. To some degree, it's all one big pot of money, we understand that, it does come back to us in some way, but, you know, earmarking it for or assigning it to a particular function, I think is a reasonable suggestion as well.
Open to questions for the chief? Jeff? Yeah. Go ahead.
Thanks for being here, Chief.
Thank you.
I can absolutely support this. Stated multiple times, I need the public to make sure that they hear that increasing the rates of our ambulances and runs will not translate to another bill that they're going to get for increased anything. So could you speak to that? And then I have a couple other questions.
Sure, so as you're familiar, and most of the board is, but I'll just explain it a little bit for the public, is that like all medical billing, there's the billed amount, and then there's the insurance amount that gets paid. And that, for whatever reason, if you were to pay it out of your pocket, you would pay the full amount, but if it's being paid by insurance, it's a negotiated rate, or however that works out. The town accepts that rate, that's our general revenue. To your point also, that we've had, and this is anecdotal, I did not look up the actual number, but since I've been chief, which is 5 years, I believe we've had less than 5 requests for abatement by people, but that is a process that's not handled in the fire department, it's handled through the, through administration. I believe the chair of the board and the treasurer address it, but it does not being able to pay is not will not prevent service from happening. Like, we don't care. From our end, our people don't care. They're gonna go out and do the job, the billing comes later, and there's no impact, there will be no additional bill. There'll just be an increase in what the ambulance bill is at this time.
Great. If I could continue, Mr. Chair. There was a slide in the packet that showed gross charges of about 5.9 million and gross revenue of about 1.9 million. And if I'm not mistaken, that's exactly what you just discussed, which is those are the agreed-upon rates between the provider, which would be you, and the insurance companies, which you negotiate these rates. Right. And so there, just so the public understands, it's really no different than traditional third-party reimbursement at a hospital or your primary care provider.
Yep.
If you don't mind, and I don't want to take up a ton of time on this, but how do you, the provider, determine the amount of the bill? Do you use CPT codes? Do you use, it's based on what level of caregiver goes out to the calls. And then is it a flat rate from there, or do you bill for
No.
medication? Do you bill, CPT codes in the hospital, which, just for the public, is current procedural terminology. That's how everything's billed out. You don't do it that way.
Correct. So there's a bunch of different ways we can do it. The construct that Harwich has used from the beginning is the 3 rates: the BLS rate, which is basic life support, the advanced life support, and then advanced life support 2. Those are flat rates established based on the level of care that's provided to the patient, and that's it. So
Okay.
it's flat rate. And we have nothing to do with that. That's Comstar. We do the patient care report. They look at the patient care report, treatments provided, they determine which category goes in, and they send the billing out.
Is it based on the amount of time it takes you to deliver the care?
It's based on procedures.
Procedures.
What's done.
Okay. What about mutual aid? Is there any reimbursement to the town of Harwich when your ambulance runs to help out Brewster or to help out Chip?
When we go to mutual aid, we get 100% of the billing receipts.
You get 100% of the billing receipts. That's great to know. Yeah, I think what you're doing is great. I think it's about time we raised these rates. And again, I say it, provided that it's no cost, no increased cost to our residents.
Agreed.
Thank you for everything. Thank you for making this really crystal clear, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Mark?
Mr. Chair, just a few questions, just to follow up on what Jeff said. Just so that the Harwich gross charge is $6 million, Harwich gross revenue, $2 million. The $3 million spread, well, actually, the $3 million, 2 and 3, well, $3 or $4 million spread is the difference between what you bill and what the insurance company reimburses.
Correct.
Okay, I got that.
Yep.
The only other comment, I love you matching the is it Comcast?
ComStar.
Matching their rates, it gets us right up high, so, very good. That's it.
They also have cable and Wi-Fi on the end.
What about fire?
No. Give away all our secrets.
Questions?
No, I don't really have a question, but I was just looking, and the last time you increased these billing rates was 10 years ago?
Over 10 years ago, yeah.
Yeah,
I
well,
believe it may have been Chief Flynn that did it. It may have happened under Chief Clark. So if it's Chief Flynn, it's longer than that.
longer than that.
Yeah.
Well, I commend you for bringing this forward now. I think it's about time. But thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief. The average from Comcast, is that, I don't know, do they serve the entire country, or?
No, so that's I believe of their Massachusetts customers, so it's the high 50 of the customers in Mass. It may be New England.
Gotcha.
They're a local company.
So it's pretty
Yeah.
focused in with
Correct.
our general area.
Correct.
It talks about the mileage reimbursement, or the mileage
Yep.
rate. Can you elaborate? Is that a one-time fee? Is that?
So it's loaded mile. So that's $35 per loaded mile. Right now it's 29 and change per loaded mile from Harwich to Cape Cod Hospital.
All right, and I'm sorry, I'm not bright enough. Loaded mile.
Yeah, patient on the truck, I'm sorry.
Okay,
So-
but I'm saying, so that's the round trip, $35? Or is it
No,
per
no,
mile?
per mile.
Per mile, okay.
Per mile, yep.
Damn, that's better than what the Commonwealth allows for reimbursement, huh? So.
You figure, but if you figure, right, time, wear, tear in the ambulance, everything else, yeah.
Absolutely. That was tongue in cheek, but no,
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify what the mileage was. And so thank you for putting it to my level. Realizing that the 137.4 didn't include that, do you have a rough idea of what the $5 increase per mile is going to add to that, or?
I don't,
No big deal.
yeah, because it's, the way it's broken down, when I looked at it, it's broken down by how we get paid, so regular health insurance, Medicare. I believe under the regular health insurance, it was over $1 million in mileage. So if you extrapolate from there, but I don't want to throw a number at it.
No, that's fine, thank you for that. No, I appreciate the info, and I'm not usually a fan of fee increases, of course, but with the understanding of how this is assessed, I think it's probably a wise move by us at this point in time, so thank you for putting the work together.
So Chief, to Mr. Kelleher's question about the 5.8 million and the 1.9 million, can you just talk briefly about, we do capture some of that delta back through the certified public
So,
expenditure?
yeah, the certified, the CPE program, Deputy Thornton just finished up doing it. So that, we started that in 2015, and it gradually built, and we were almost about $200,000 3 years ago, and it started to fall off. So last year, we were down to 130. This year, we were back to 140. So it depends, and things go into that. Depreciation of vehicles, depreciation of buildings, staffing costs, all that changes. But basically what CPE allows us to do is capture the difference between what the insurance reimbursed, and it's for Medicaid patients only, but what the insurance reimbursed versus what the actual cost to run the ambulance was for those calls. So that's where that $140,000 delta comes from. What we believe, part of, in talking with Tony, part of what we believe is that because our rates are so close to what the actual Medicare rate is, that there's less for us to recover. So if we increase the rate, there'll be more delta, and there'll be more for us to recover. So we should see an increase in that CPE program with that.
So that's a federal program, so that money comes from the, federal government, but it is, and to know the fire department's been doing it for 10 years, so a lot of departments weren't doing it because it's paperwork and whatever, but it's revenue that towns would not capture absent doing the paperwork and all that goes into the CPE reimbursement from the federal government. So kudos to the chief and the department. We obviously will continue to do that. So the expected increase in revenue is actually greater than what you see here in terms of what we may capture in additional CPE revenue moving forward with, if the board chooses to approve the new rates.
Which also goes to the general fund.
Correct.
Yeah, and so,
Well, actually, I take that back. It comes in as free cash, I believe.
does it?
Because it doesn't get, I think we get the check like on the 30th of June or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And it's not a source of revenue that you're gaining until the last day of the fiscal year.
Gotcha.
But again, I think to Mr. Howell's point, we should start tracking that. And when we get our free cash of 140,000 came from CPE, then perhaps there's a way, to allocate that 140,000 to a need in the fire department or whatever.
Right.
As a potential way to use that revenue for a specific purpose.
Yeah, and if I could, Mr. Chair, I think we talked about this, maybe it was just a discussion you and I had, Tony, I forget, but this fee can be adjusted at any point, and so the.
We need to pick an implementation date,
Okay.
correct? And it doesn't need to start at beginning of fiscal year. Our recommendation would be, sooner, you may need some planning time. I don't know, Chief.
I believe, and I meant to give you a copy of it, it's just a form we fill out with them, and whatever time it takes the billing company to process the form.
So we could do 1 November, 1
Yeah, that's what I
December.
was thinking.
Before everybody gets too carried away here, I was just going to say that historically, that we've handled this, if we have a rough agreement here, through a public hearing for a rate change, and then we would do it. Because we've almost always done fee increases that way, to put the public on notice. So that would be the plan, is if we all agreed, if this is a good idea, it'll be on an agenda as soon as we can publish it in the newspaper and get it out there for public comment.
I'm fine with that approach, and, so we could target a 12/1
Yeah.
timeframe for that. That would accommodate your
Yes.
public hearing.
Thank you, Chief. We gave you homework to do here, and we appreciate it, because we haven't gone round on that. And it really, again, for the public certification, we've had 8 contracts that are expiring, and we have fallen way behind in our pay structure to the fire department, both relative to what they do in the commercial sector and relative to what the rest of the towns are paying. So we need a way to be able to close that gap, and this would be extremely helpful. So, any other questions? We'll let the chief go home.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
But we'll put that as a public hearing for a future agenda.
27th? The 27th or whatever.
Whatever you can get it published so that we can meet that requirement. Okay, final reading on board committee email policy. Again, Emily. I'm pretty sure you're going to want an effective date at this point.
Good evening, Emily Mitchell, Town Clerk. Thank you for bringing this back for its final reading. That was the one point that I did want to highlight, that in your 3rd paragraph, you currently have a placeholder, just the word date for when you would determine this policy to be effective, presuming you do vote to adopt it this evening.
And what would you recommend?
We are prepared to begin issuing these emails immediately, so if you are comfortable making it effective either this evening or tomorrow, we would be happy to work with either date.
Anybody have any comments about the gist of the text itself? Okay, so then what's left up in the air is whether we want to approve it on the 3rd reading with the date inserted. So someone wish to make a motion?
You want the date inserted in the motion?
If you would, so that you
What was
could.
the date?
Today or tomorrow.
Okay. What's today's date? Today's the 14th.
Still the
October
14th.
Still the
October
14th.
15th. Okay.
Still the 14th.
Just check. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the Board, Committee, and Commission email use policy as presented in the agenda packet this evening with an effective start date of October 15th, 2025.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve it with an effective date of October 15th. Okay. Any further comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you for all the work.
Thank you so much.
And
We
thank you
really
for all the work that's going to be coming.
appreciate it. Absolutely, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Now we get to Judy. Okay, discussion on commercial property coverage insurance for South Harwich Meeting House. Don't everybody start at
I'll
once.
start. I was hopeful for a larger, I understand what we have in front of us here. I was hopeful for a larger discussion where we took a good look at all town properties that have licenses and/or leases, as Tony brought up last week. And the lease, I believe, is a junior theater, is a lease. So that there could be some parity between them, and
Brooks Academy.
And Brooks Academy, Junior Theater, South Harwich Meeting House, I don't know if the Albro House, I don't know if there's any other municipal buildings that have leases, and I would be excluding the 204, because that's being run pretty well.
The cultural center.
As far as I'm concerned, the cultural center.
We never renamed it.
Correct. So at the end of the day, I did an awful lot of work with comparisons and contrasts between the three that administration sent us. They are all over the place. They are really all over the place. So I don't know if I'm comfortable weighing in on approving or really even discussing this one carve-out without having a larger conversation of the other two, or maybe if there's more. But that's where I stand.
Just to let everybody know, though, there is a legal difference between a license and a lease, first of all.
Understood.
Second of all, it's not a carve-out so much as we can't figure out why it all of a sudden just appeared, because I know that the original license agreement that I helped write did not have that in it at all for a decade. I mean, it just showed up. Yeah, it's probably about 15 years.
2004 to 2017.
Yeah, something between 13 and 15 years, it just all of a sudden showed up, and I haven't been able to get a good answer as to why that occurred. But I will say the one enduring comment is they took a building that was pretty crummy in shape. It was like really bad. They not only fixed it up through a lot of sweat equity, but did it historically accurately. You know, it was my former church property. We sold it to the town in the 1990s. I guess the question you have to ask yourself is how much we want to lather on as a responsibility, because ultimately, if we want to run it ourselves, are we prepared to pay for the insurance? Are we prepared to put programming in? And are we prepared to continue the maintenance in accordance with any historic requirements in lieu of having some outside party do it? They put an immense amount of money into this, which the junior theater did not do. Because I was an officer of that, too, and I can tell you when we got the lease for that, there were certain things that got done, but there was no wholesale refurbishment of the building. This building was pretty close to collapsing. If the pews had to be removed, I mean, everything had to be stripped. It was horrible. So they're not really the same issue ultimately in terms of where they started, because they put in a large amount of equity investment into this to get it to where it is.
Mr. Chair, I don't disagree with you one bit. I know the work you've put into it and the group has put into it.
Don't you come up so that you don't have to shout across the room?
Here or there.
Either way that you feel comfortable.
I just like to respond to Jeff, if I could. In looking for parity in the various buildings that have lease or license, and we've had a license since 2004, in looking for parity, you will never find it in these town buildings, mainly because the South Harwich Meeting House was done totally and completely. We have covered every expense of that building since 2004. Not a single utility, not an inspection, not an elevator inspection, not a maintenance, not a utility, not any aspect of that building has the town been responsible for. I don't think you will find that in any other building in the town of Harwich that is being supported as a public building. And I think that it's very important to look at the South Harwich Meeting House unto itself, because it is just not like anything else. And Don knows when we started, that building was being held up by footstones of the cemetery people next door. The windows were smashed in. It was full of animals, raccoons, bats. It was a phenomenal project to do. And we went from a building that was completely, literally condemnable to receiving the Mass Historic Commission Award for preservation in 2019. And that was all on basically our group is, from myself on down for the last 20 years, we've never had a salary. We're all volunteer, we're all committed. And I think it's really important to consider the tremendous amount of money the town has saved and what an incredible asset that building is. And we continue to support it, and we continue to maintain it. We have a $16,000 worth of project going on right now, and it just does not relate to any other building in town where there's just a lease or a license agreement. It's not the same. So I want to make sure that Jeff understands that, yeah.
I do, and Mr. Chair, through you, I completely understand you. I hear you and respect everything you just said and agree with it 100%. And when I say I'm looking for parity, my interest isn't to make every single municipal building and the agreements therein exactly the same. But they are so all over the place that my interest is to just get a good look at all of them and find out what works for the tenants who are utilizing the building and doing such a great job. My intention would be to make it easier and not harder. It may sound like I'm trying to make it like I'm going to add bills to your property. That's not what I'm looking to do. But I think the town owes the taxpayers at least doesn't even really need to be a deep dive, but a dive in to see where the similarities lie, because there's going to be some similarities in all the buildings. There's going to be probably more differences than there are going to be similarities. But I think we owe it to the taxpayers to be able to answer the questions as to why the South Harwich Meeting House's license agreement is different than the Harwich Junior Theater's lease agreement, which is different than the Brooks Academy's license agreement. Just to be able to answer it would be, I think, very important for this board to be able to respond to the taxpayers, because the Junior Theater is also, there was some discovery being done about a stairway and a fence that was going up, and who was paying for it. Is it the town's responsibility? Is it the tenant's responsibility? That's all I'm saying. I'm certainly not looking to complicate things. I just would like to make things a little bit more clear for the taxpayers.
And I get what you're saying, but I keep reverting back to, I can give you 700,000 reasons why they're different, because the Brooks Academy just went through a warrant article where the public voted to shovel hundreds of thousands of dollars into that building. This building got resurrected almost from scratch because it had no foundation. They had to lift it, they had to put it in. It was all done on their own nickel. There's a lot more nickels than that.
But we're not under any line item in the town budget. No money comes from the town. Town money even goes to the small libraries in town.
I'm just suggesting we revert back to the original agreement that we had bilaterally agreed to and had been durable for like a decade and a half, and then all of a sudden it changed.
And I think we've shown incredible responsibility and incredible success with a building that had failed over and over and over again. And it does not relate to any other building. I don't think you'll find any group that will go in and rescue a building like we have done for the now 20 years. So I think it's very important to look at there are massive differences between the South Harwich Meeting House and the other buildings that we're talking about.
No disagreement there. I'd also like to look at the term of the leases of all of these. Some are 25 years, some are 10, some are 5. I don't have the answers when the residents call and ask me why this building is different than the Junior Theater building, why the Junior Theater building is different than Brooks Academy. That's all I'm saying, is let's just get it all out on the table, figure out, the town's going to absorb the insurance costs for a South Harwich Meeting House. Great, no problem, but let's consummate that, and let's put that in writing and have an agreement that's signed. And through the process, I'll understand better why the 3 buildings, 2 of them have licenses and 1 has a lease.
We do have an agreement, though. It's still invalid. It's still valid until 2028.
Of course.
I mean, our agreement goes to 2028.
Yep.
In 2017, apparently there were changes that we were not necessarily aware of, how that actually went on.
And you haven't changed.
We haven't changed anything. If anything, we've committed more and more. And I think it's also really important to look at when we committed to handle this building early on. We said that we would pay all the expenses of it and never come to the town for any support, which is what we've done. But I think it's really important to consider what the costs, how the costs have increased, whether it's utilities, whether it's insurance, whether it's maintenance and elevator inspections and all the incredible amount of work that we do on that building. Everything has gone sky high, and we still have maintained it, even through a COVID period of being closed for 2.5 years. So I think it's really important, I think for Harwich and for this board, to recognize the importance of that building, the asset it is to the town, and really respect the tremendous amount of work that's been put into it. And for us to have another $7,300 burden of insurance would complicate what we're doing in physical restoration to the building right now.
And there's the thing. I'm kind of a contract purist because I used to write them for a living. And what I'm saying right now is, however that came to pass, right now it's a requirement for them not to be in default of the agreement.
That's right.
We'd have to actually pause the clock while we're having the discussion that you want to have, because they are literally responsible for this payment right now, and we just discovered that, and I don't think that was our intent ever.
And the other thing,
cripple
Doug,
the
is
Friends of organization.
there were other things changed in this agreement that we were not aware of, that didn't make sense, even as absolutely simple as our actual legal address under the state. It's not a P.O. box. It can't be a P.O. box. So that alone is incorrect in this document. And how we raise funds on it, that is also incorrect. So I think the licensing agreement really needs to be looked at, and I think we need to correct. There are 3 main things in there that are not what they're supposed to be, and I don't know why they were changed, but we certainly would have never been in agreement with them changing the actual address of the Meeting House, Friends of the South Harwich Meeting House Corporation. That's a legal address through the state.
So if we bring this back, what we would have to do, in my mind, in order to make sure that nobody goes after the organization and raids it, we'd have to suspend at least the term that calls for the insurance, or else they're in technical default of their agreement.
I can just, mention this, I had the unfortunate pleasure of being the one to discover this.
Found it, yeah.
But, it went into being in 2017. I mean, the town bears some responsibility in terms of today, only because the town's never billed them for 8 years, and it's our agreement. So it is a little bit of a shock, I think, to discover this without any planning.
What I'm saying, though, is that these things are bilateral. So if that got changed, they got presented with a document that was at least materially different than what they had signed in the past, shame on us for not telling them that that was going on.
Well, we really should have been here before the board to make those changes. We really should have been discussing.
That's what I'm saying. It should be bilateral.
And to all of a sudden have it, be that different now. And, I mean, certainly, we would never have come in an agreement with a change of a legal address or the actual funding of the Meeting House and how we raise funds and what we do. We would have certainly never been in a discussion on that. We would have certainly been aware that that was incorrect. So I just think that maybe the board needs to look at the value of that building and how it's come to be in 20 years, and the tremendous amount of work and effort and physical volunteer, financial volunteer, and the huge community support that we have with membership and donations and what we're doing for programming. It's a tremendous asset. It costs the town $7,300 a year for an umbrella insurance policy. And we didn't even know what that amount was. So
if we close down the building, we're still going to be paying for insurance. I might want to point that out. And then we're also going to have to be responsible for buttoning it up and making sure that it doesn't decay. And I doubt anybody's going to put programming in it gratis. But I do know it was kind of like a barn raising. I remember Leo Kakunis was involved. There was a lot of people that came in and gave their valuable time and skills.
Tremendous contractors did everything. We've saved tremendous amount of money. Just to give you an idea, the windows in that building, there are 9 main windows. There are 24 sashes in those 9 windows. Those windows were done because I personally took those sashes out, took them to an old windows restorer in New Hampshire, actually, and they put them in a steam box. They let them sit there till they got all the paint and all the broken panes that we took on to, And after they finished them all, they actually finished them, put period glass on the ones that were missing panes. They fixed the ones that were broken. They actually primed them, painted them, put them all back together, and I personally went and picked them up. We paid only $1,000 a main window. So it was $9,000 for that entire building. But it was because of our work that it didn't cost what it would. Can you imagine what that would cost now? It would be absolutely outrageous. So,
You wanted to say something?
If I could, Mr. Chair. Excuse me, thank you. A couple things. One, it sounds like to me we're trying to get the pulse of the board tonight because we need to bring this back in the form of an agreement or a license or whatever.
One
you
that
wanna-
both sides actually understand.
No, understood, but my point is, so tonight isn't the effort to sign off an agreement and approve an agreement because we don't have it in front of us. So I'm happy to see the license or agreement or whatever the title is come back before us in a manner in which both sides find acceptable. I certainly understand the benefit of the meeting house, and I'm not inclined to impose the $7,000 insurance fee onto the good folks who are doing a tremendous amount of work there. But with that said, I understand where Select Board Member Handler's coming from, and I think we want a larger discussion beyond this with the other entities to figure out what's going on with them, and are we missing things there as well, or do things need to be cleaned up in those agreements? Evaluate the use of them, the costs associated to the town in supporting them in comparison to what we do at the meeting house. So I think there is a larger discussion that's required, but I think it's independent of moving along with the insurance discussion with this particular meeting house.
I'll bring it back as a clean copy then, but I understand what you're saying. There's some other aspects, the junior theater at least, that are unusual too.
Right.
Anita?
Yeah, I can more than understand, I believe, where Mr. Handler's coming from. I think it's nothing against that building. You've done a tremendous job with it. But I think if I can kind of at least understand maybe, is that you want to look at all three contracts and make sure that all three contracts are pretty much
This is a
running in the
license.
same license contracts, whatever, sorry, misused the word, but that all three documents are just about running in the same direction. Am I pretty much correct?
You are, and thank you. I think it's not so much as running in the same direction, but of all of them, I mean, look what happened to
Right.
this document.
Right.
It got changed,
but not by us.
not by you.
Right.
That can't happen by any standard or measure. That, in my opinion, is a colossal failure by the town to present you with a document that changes from one term to the next. So to Anita's point, it's more about just understanding what's happening at all three buildings, because I, at this point, am embarrassed to say, I don't know what's happening other than this building.
Right.
What's happening at the other two?
Now, do all the buildings get the same contract, document?
not
No,
even-
not even
Absolutely not.
close.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Do they receive a signed copy of what was voted on? Like, did you receive a signed copy of this from '23?
We did, but we only received the signatory page.
That's what I'm saying.
And
So
it had been the same from 2004 going forward. It's been the same for years and years and years.
So you never thought to come back and say, hey, where's the rest of the document?
Well, I may have gotten the document, but because it has never changed and we didn't come before the Board of Selectmen to discuss these changes,
Okay.
we weren't aware of them.
Okay.
And I still think it's really important for the board to consider that you are not going to find any agreement with these other buildings that are the same. They're very, very different.
Right.
No one's saying that.
Yeah.
No.
I want to make it clear and go on record. I am not stating that at all. As a matter of fact, I think I've stated multiple times, your situation at the South Harwich Meeting House is very different than the other two.
I think we're all kind of on the same.
We're all on this, and to
I think
Mr.
we're-
Pekarsky's point,
Yeah,
I fully support the town
right.
taking care of the cost of the insurance for this building for a lot of reasons, not just because of the work that's been done, but because I think it's the right thing for us to do, to take care of that aspect of the expense side of this building. It's a treasure and a gem.
Right.
That being said, I still can't answer. I thought we were coming in here to talk about a larger have a larger discussion about all license and
Right.
all lease agreements. That's all, but make it clear, I am in full support
Right.
of taking care of this bill. And as a matter of fact, I would ask the chair, how can we expedite this? And make this an easier process than having to come back in 2 weeks and take care of this?
Short of voting to waive the insurance fee, which you could do, it's posted tonight, you could vote to waive that portion of the agreement obligation. And by the way, in saying that, just so the public understands how we could get to a blank sheet of paper, the license term may be extended by written agreement of the parties. It doesn't say that they have to get the whole agreement. So I bet you I know how that happened, but it would be speculation. But it just...
That would be absent of changes to the policy. Or to-
One would think,
Yeah.
but that's not what happened,
Well,
obviously.
Right,
Mr. Chair,
that's- you
can I
were
make a motion?
trusting.
Yeah, you sure could.
Trusting.
Mr. Chair, I move that we waive, help me, Mr. Chair, we waive the
Waive the insurance
regulation.
indemnification portion of the agreement for the balance of the term of the lease agreement, or at least for this year. Pick your poison.
Yeah, I would say, okay, before I make the motion,
It goes from fiscal years, because this expires on June 30th, 2028.
28.
Agreement.
To the new agreement.
new agreement.
Bring one
The new
back.
agreement.
Until a new agreement.
Okay.
But we
gonna
don't have
defer
a
to
new
my colleague.
agreement now, nor do they have
I-
an obligation to do one. It's 2028 that this thing expires.
No, understood, but we can make a motion to bring back an agreement.
I move that we bring back a new clean agreement for the South Harwich Meeting House license agreement with the town of Harwich.
Without,
No, I'm not going to say without. Let's just put it together, without, because that's,
if you do that, then all it's going to be is a clean copy that makes them responsible
Let
for
me
the
just
insurance.
explain.
2017, right? The previous license.
Is that what you mean?
If I could just
13,
interject.
wasn't it?
Right now, we're facing contracts right now that we've approved and signed for almost $17,000. So going forward, we really need to know.
Somebody needs to
If we're going to
identify the
owe
town.
another $7,300, that's going to make a big difference to us, whether we can keep going.
When's the date that that's owed?
Well, actually, half of it is already paid, and, well, actually, almost 8,000 is already paid as an initial deposit, and the work is starting this week.
No.
If it's
How much of the
theirs,
insurance has been paid? Or is that coming due?
How about what insurance?
they weren't paying for it at all, period.
That's what I'm asking. Has it?
We've never,
The town-
never,
Okay, if I can interject.
Please.
See that
The chair.
dog out there?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's,
It's part of our
So
master's
the way this,
contract.
it's a reimbursement, so the town has already paid, remember, this isn't for all they still have to carry some of their own insurance. This is for the town to insure the building from physical damage and for its own liability, the town's liability, because we still own the building under a license, so it's to protect the town as well. So we already have the bill, and we've already paid the bill.
We're due reimbursement.
We're due reimbursement,
Understood.
right? So
In the
we're
amount of
covered.
7,300 and whatever that is in the packet.
Correct. It went down a little bit from last year, a couple $100, but yes, that's $7,322.
And you don't have to make the motion tonight, but when we do finally do something, because this was found to be out of compliance several years ago, right?
It's never, the town, it's been in
So we
place
probably
since
want to modify the
2017.
agreement going rearwardly too, as well
The town's
as,
never asked to
going
collect the
forward.
money.
because it's
It's
still,
going to turn into a dog hearing in a minute.
it may be, but I'm just saying.
No, I'm with you, but-
It's an unfunded liability for them, because they haven't, they still have the requirement.
Which is why, Mr. Chair, if we don't want a motion, or if we just want to, take a poll, can we bring this back with all the edits that are required? Because there's language regarding addresses and whatnot that also need to be updated.
Yep.
And we can exclude the language pertaining to the insurance reimbursement and get a new clean document signed by both parties. And if you want that in the form of a motion, so move.
You don't need to, as long as we have agreement from everybody that that would be a course of action. We can have them draft some things for our signature
Have
and
them
their.
draft. Have
Well,
the tenant
make it
draft.
consistent with the prior agreement.
yeah, that's what we've basically always done.
And bring it back to us so that we can see that we can, whether we can mutually agree to whatever that text is.
I heard the word default, and I agree with you, Pete, 100%. I like the path. but I heard the word default, and I do not want the tenant to be in default of anything while this board works on the mess.
Haven't collected it since 2017.
I believe Tony will take that as a loose instruction from the board not to do anything until we
Well,
finish.
correct, and I mean, until the end of this fiscal year, they're not in default, I mean, there's no due-by date. In other words, you have to pay by October 1st or November 1st.
That's what I asked earlier, is there a
So
due
they're
date?
not in.
Yeah,
they're
the
not-
same fiscal year.
Same fiscal year. Fantastic. Then we can pause for 2 weeks and bring it back.
Again.
do the fiscal year.
I would also like to say that we carry our own liability insurance on that building and our own directors and officers insurance. So we're already up to, $2,000 and $3,000 for insurance on our own. And taking on the town, a small nonprofit that's all volunteer, then we'd be paying over $10,000 in insurance. And that's prohibitive for us. And it's a town building, and the town's responsible for its own liability on its own buildings, I believe.
Can you just send us a copy of the prior one, or do you have that? Or we could probably delve down into our archives.
Did I do that already? I thought, I only just did the 3 pages that were off, I think.
The original one?
I sent
2017?
the first time we
Before
did.
the change?
2003, 2004, something like that.
Oh, I have
That
the
was-
original one,
I
yeah.
guess my thought was to go back to the one right before this changed.
Well,
I'm wondering whether that was consistent. The first agreement
wasn't
was-
consistent
The
because
first
our-
one that was signed was 2004, I want to say?
2004,
Yeah.
and they were three-year renewables. And we went on for 3 years and 3 years and 3 years and 3 years. And then all of a sudden, in 16 and 17,
Gave 10.
14, 15, 16, that Board of Selectmen decided to only renew 1 year at a time because they wanted the building done, which had to be done correctly. So it was 1 year at a time, 1 year at a time, 1 year at a time, and then finally we went into a 5-year. The original agreement was 3 to 5 years. So they negated that, and then we went into a 5-year agreement in 2023 to 2028, and the 5 years before that.
I ask you again, can you get us back to the original agreement text?
I have that right here, actually.
Okay, so
Yeah.
if you could get us a copy of that or email it to us, we'll
We
work
should
on it.
have it, we'll look, because I mean, we don't want to have to type it over. If we have it in either a scanned or PDF, we can,
Yeah, we have it on,
Yeah,
I probably did. yeah.
Judy knows this. I was the chair when this happened in 2004, and we came up with the creative way of doing it as a license rather than a contract because it had to do with prevailing wages and a whole bunch of other things. And
yeah.
we thought it was advantageous to the town to enter into this agreement in this way rather than a lease. So, all right, send us that, and then we'll bring it back.
So what do you want? You want the 2004 license agreement
Yeah.
and the most recent?
Yeah, I'd like to see how
And then you
they
can see the
might have
differences?
changed. Yeah.
Is it better, Tony, if we send it like, and go onto right on the computer, like we can email it, or what's?
Yeah, PDF.
That's a better way to do it. So I think if we do the first one, and then we do the most recent one, which will be 2023, that will show you where those changes, well, they came in
We have
2007.
17 anyway.
17, it's 17 to 23, yeah.
Okay. Well, we're beating this to death, so we'll
And then I think it just
back.
stayed the same, is what happened, it just stayed the same
Okay.
from the next one, so.
I think you're hearing that nobody wants to make this not succeed. so-
Yeah, well, I hope not. So it would be there would just be a terrible thing
Just
for the
email
town.
me what you have,
Yeah.
or email Tony what you have, and we'll work on
Okay.
it from there forward and bring it back as an agenda item.
All right, do you know when that's going to be? Because,
Within the fiscal year.
yeah, it's got to be before that, because we're feeling like we're out of compliance here, and
Well, we're not, because we're not enforcing that at the moment.
but it's in our agreement, right?
It's probably not capable of happening in 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks or 4 weeks, somewhere in that.
Sure, as long as they're not in default, and she can rest easy that they're not
Okay,
in default.
we're not going to exercise that section of it right now. As Tony said, you're still in compliance right up until June 30th.
Yeah, the insurance dates, I'd have to go and check the actual dates, but it just renewed just recently, so we're in the beginning of a 1 year. And we haven't sent an invoice to them or anything like that.
Darned if I could understand why we would change the terms to make them responsible for something that we didn't bill them for. I'm just saying.
Or why,
I wasn't
I
here
don't
then,
know
I take no responsibility.
who decided to make the change.
That's what I'm saying.
Anyway, I don't know what was behind the decision to make.
It is a mess.
And if you see Pete coming knocking on the door of the South Harwich Meeting House, then you know someone's coming
Yeah.
looking for money.
It might be a good idea for the board to come and just see the building
I believe
as a
I've been
group,
there.
and really see what's been done there and how it's been run, because it's a phenomenal project, probably one of an absolute one in a million kind.
You forget, you sponsored the candidate debates, so
Yeah,
one of us has been there, at least for that.
yeah, that's true.
And nor will I go anywhere with this crew.
Yeah.
Look at them.
Thank you.
Groucho Marx, I wouldn't belong to an organization to have me as a member.
Right.
Okay,
So,
thanks, Judy.
I'm assuming you'll get back to me.
Don't worry, nothing bad's going to happen to you. Just send
Oh,
this
I'm
stuff
not
and we'll
worried.
work our way through this, don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
Can I say one thing? I'm looking forward to seeing William Brewster on Mayflower Pilgrim Transformation.
That's going to be incredible.
I already bought the ticket, so.
Yeah, Richard Pickering is the assistant executive director at
Pilgrim Plantation before, now Pilgrim Patuxent. And he's famous for this. He's actually done it in the United Nations. He's amazing. He's amazing. It's going to be an incredible event. And we're doing it with a combination event between us and the Harwich Historical Society.
And I have seen Richard Pickering do this.
Have you?
I did.
Yeah.
He did it at the,
Mr. Chair.
sorry, we're getting off point.
We're getting a little off track here on the
Okay,
agenda.
but yes,
Mr.
I've
Chair.
seen
Well,
it.
that's
It's
great.
very good.
If I could just add one
Is that the
quick
same
thing.
William Brewster who was a
Mayflower.
big wig in the 4th North Precinct?
No.
Okay.
I would just like to make one comment. No, people are not aware of probably about Dick Gomes. Our very first concert, after all the years of working on that building in
Quite a voice.
2018, Dick Gomes came and he actually sang Amazing Grace at that concert. And if you sit in the meeting house, every one of those cushions have been recovered by Dick Gomes. He made every single button, 1,800 buttons he put together, and he redid all of those pews in that meeting house. Phenomenal man. So,
We will for months be uncovering things that nobody actually knew
Yeah.
that he was up to.
forever, I'm sure. Well, thank you.
Thank you for being here. Okay, update on the finance director.
So I wish I had encouraging news in our search for our permanent finance director, but I do not. So today was kind of the closeout for receiving applications. We received 5 applications and resumes. Unfortunately, after my review, Eric Kinshir's review, HR review, we really didn't get a candidate, particularly that had municipal experience, which I think is absolutely critical at this point in this juncture, primarily because we have a very young finance staff right now, both in the treasurer's office and in the accounting office, with folks just getting their feet underneath them in both of those areas, that our current setup with our interim finance director and that team is providing invaluable support to them on the municipal side of finance. And if we brought somebody in that didn't have that municipal finance experience, some of the things that we're looking to generate in terms of our future budgets and some of the financing stuff we have to strategize about and consider, frankly, I think we'd be making a mistake. And so my recommendations at this point is to re-advertise, if you will, bring it back up to the top of the MMA website and the other professional organizations that we sent our advertisement to, and continue that process for another 30 days in hopes of trying to get some, applicant with municipal, finance experience, either as a finance director or as a town accountant. Remember, this is a combined position, right, with the town accountant, which is a critical position, and having them combined, whether that's having an effect on the folks that may apply for it, that, may fill the finance director side, but don't have an accounting background, I think is really important that we try to find somebody that has that. Things are working right now. We've developed a good relationship, myself and the interim finance director and that team, as well as the new folks in finance and the new positions in treasurer and in the accountant's office. That I think to disrupt that right now might cause us more harm than good. So certainly we'll follow whatever direction the board wants, since it's the board's hire, but I don't think it's a salary issue at all, based on where we, the advertised amount that we put out there, which was 170 plus minus, and obviously negotiable for exceptionally qualified candidates. but that's kind of where I see things right now. I think it would be, we'd be doing ourselves perhaps even a disservice by bringing somebody in without some type of municipal background to work with the staff and grow their skills.
Yeah, clearly, I think we'd like to get someone with experience, but with that aside, I think you alluded to either a week or two ago, Tony, that, I don't know if it was MGL that changed, that you can't do the plus or minus anymore. Is this-
Starts on the 29th.
Okay.
So if we get it out tomorrow, this week, we're still, the Mass General Law changed. We're starting on October 29th. All employment advertisements have to have a defined range, X to X, basically.
Okay.
So
if we
we're
move
still
on, that's
below
where-
that. We could
okay.
still do it the way we're doing it for at least another couple of weeks. And if the board agrees to re-advertise the advertisement, we're well within, we'll get it out this week for sure.
Okay. That was great. That was great news.
Take the good with the bad. But like I said, things are working right now. So, I mean, it's a little bit distributed, obviously, because Eric and his team are not here every day, but they're in constant communication, both with myself, and they are on site, particularly during the budget process. I've asked them to have more of a presence, because there's going to be a lot of back and forth and sitting down and strategizing about things. So we're working on that. And then the timeline that we developed, I think, is helpful for them, because they have a big piece of a lot of that. In terms of as we put the budget together and the pieces that we need their expertise on as we go to estimate revenues and different types of things. If you don't have an municipal background in how that work happens, we could easily be doing it in a vacuum that we don't want to be doing it in a vacuum. So, like I said, they have a good relationship and a rapport already building. I think we keep that going until we find. It's about finding the right candidate and not simply filling a vacancy, I think is critical, as the board knows how critical the position is.
Okay. Moving along. Flip the page.
I make a motion that we vote to authorize the chair to sign a memorandum of understanding between the town of Harwich and the South Shore Community Action Council, SSCAC.
Second.
Moved and seconded to authorize the chair to sign the memorandum of understanding with the South Shore Community Action Council. Any further comments?
Tony, is there any dollar figure with this?
There's no money changing hands, so there's a no cost. It just allows them to work together. And also the part about our COA staff has to go through some training and follow their procedures and stuff, but there's no monetary exchange of funds between the town and the council.
So I'm the site.
What's that?
I am the site, as a site signature. I've never seen a building sign anything, but anyway, so it's been moved and seconded.
And again, Mr. Chair, with your indulgence, real quick, this allows us, the Harwich staff to assist Harwich older adults with applications for the Home Energy Assistance Program, again, for Mass eligible residents, so an agreement that's well worth it.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Town Administrator's report.
So I don't have a lot, but I just want to mention, we went through a little bit of a nor'easter. Probably, I think we've seen a lot worse, but no damage or anything to town facilities or anything ever brought to my attention related to that, so hopefully everybody fared through that well. The only other item we're tracking for the board, I shouldn't say the only other one, but one of the areas we're tracking for the board is the legal services requests for responses. So those any questions from any of the potential respondents are due by tomorrow at noon, and then it closes out on the 29th, so in about 2 weeks. I did ask IT to kind of run a report, because when you go on the site for bids, when you click on it, you have to put in some information that you're looking at it. It looked, from what I could gather from the report, wasn't totally clear, but there may have been about 4 firms that have so far, sort of clicked on the site to see what we're asking for. So another couple weeks, we should find out who responded to that request.
Questions for the town administrator? All right, select board member reports. Jeff? Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I only have one. Tony, tomorrow, I believe, is the final date for applications for the Affordable Housing Trust position.
Yes.
Could I get an update on how many people have applied? Anything you can tell me?
Of course, yep. So we've had one from Larry Ballantyne. I actually met with him today.
Long time ago.
No, time goes.
The earlier part of today.
So I actually met with him today. So if I don't get any more, we had a great discussion and talked about a couple of different things. So I hope to, by the 27th, I'll be here with the board with what I think is a way forward for the trust. So.
Thank you. That's all.
Mark?
I attended a Charter Commission meeting, great spirited debate. Everybody who was there was into discussions. They have a consultant on board, so I'm excited to see their final work product when it comes out.
Good.
Nina?
I'm good.
Don't go anywhere just a second. An email was sent out, and because we're not having a meeting next week, I at least want to poll the board. They asked me to be involved with Veterans Day again, but if you guys have a different opinion, then that's fine too. Just
Nominate Don.
I'll second that.
I'm the guest speaker this year, so.
you got to carry me from the parking lot. Okay, that was number one. Yeah, we don't need the second part.
So as it relates to Veterans Day, so I've been asked to actually be the keynote speaker for that, so.
As well, you might be. Okay, motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?